ticket in the division series. Now the Reds and their manager David Bell think otherwise. They certainly hope otherwise. David in his second season as Reds skipper, 12-year playing career. Kid who was born in Cincinnati with great roots to the organization, as fans well know by now. Let's take a look at his starting lineup. He has changed things around a bit against the right-hander Ian Anderson. Shogo Akiyama will lead things off in left field. We're going to talk about a utility number for the group collectively yesterday, and that perhaps explains the changes today. They went 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position yesterday in game 1. They had a dickens of a time in 2 strike counts, and David Bell is hopeful that he's had the magic touch to fix that with some lineup alterations today. 22-year-old rookie right-hander Ian Anderson starting for Brian Snitker and the Braves today. An outstanding coming out party in his rookie year. 3-2 ERA under 2, a whip just over a run, and he's just the 4th Atlanta rookie to make a postseason start. He's got a lot on his shoulders today, hoping to pitch the Braves into the division series. So Shogo Akiyama ready to start things for Cincinnati. Akiyama, Castellanos, and Votto for the Reds. It's been a history-making series, a part of a history-making postseason already in just 2 games worth of days. And Ian Anderson occupies a part of that by making a start this afternoon. The first pitcher in Braves franchise history to start in the postseason despite making no more than 6 career regular season appearances. And here we go. First pitch fastball taken for a strike.
There's a fastball, curveball, and the signature pitch for Anderson is the changeup.
Akiyama lifts a fly ball into left field. With some tricky sunlight today, it's Adam Duvall to make the catch. T-Mobile's your ticket to the game. Let's dig into today's matchup for some insights for the fans at home. And again, we do this with very broad strokes. Put the ball in play. Seems easy, but 37 combined strikeouts, a Major League Baseball postseason record yesterday in game 1. And Atlanta with 1-run wins in mind, as they did yesterday. 11 of them during the regular season. One of the highest totals in baseball, tied for the most in the National League. 1 gone now for Nick Castellanos. Castellanos enjoyed a 3-hit opener yesterday. In fact, that matched a season high for Nick. He had only 1 game with as many as 3 hits during the regular season. And he's quickly behind 0-2. A lot to get into with Ian Anderson today. He is a spectacular talent. One that the Braves hope is a part of their rotation, anchoring the top of it for a long time to come. He and Max Fried. Castellanos sends a ball out to center, playable for Acuna, 2 away. So now the 6-time All-Star Joey Votto, who had a couple of hits yesterday. You know, when we went on the air, Alex, we talked about some of those missed opportunities for the Reds, and so much of it came late. Bases loaded twice in the extra innings. They opened the 12th with runners at first and second. Nobody out, could not score. Braves play Votto in the shift, as much of the league does these days. A ball and no strikes.
And Matty, when you hit third in the major leagues, sometimes, and I always did this, you try to prepare at 6:30 for a 7:05 at bat. That first at bat could be the most important one of the game, and that was the case with Votto yesterday. Second and third, grounded out to first, couldn't get the run in. Became a vital mistake or missed opportunity for the Reds.
And it certainly wasn't just Joey Votto yesterday. There were equal blame to be shared throughout the lineup. There's the good change, swung on and missed. Ball and 2 strikes.
And Matty, this is the changeup, the signature changeup. 95 on the fastball, 90. Looks just like a fastball, but it's this the velocity and the location.
Comes upstairs with a fastball, strikes out a 6-time All-Star, and completes his first inning in his postseason debut in rather efficient manner. 7-0 against the Reds in their postseason history. And Brian hasn't changed a thing in Game 2 of the series. Acuna, Freeman, and Ozuna. Darno, Albies, and Duvall. Swanson, Markakis, and Riley. Braves did their share of striking out yesterday. Trevor Bauer and company largely to blame for that. And another strikeout artist on the mound, but a guy that goes about it quite differently from Trevor Bauer. Luis Castillo, the 27-year-old changeup specialist, made his final regular season tune-up start Saturday in Minneapolis. He struck out 4 and didn't walk a batter in a 7-3 loss. And Castillo makes his postseason debut this afternoon with a strike to Ronald Acuna.
From Bani, Dominican Republic, grew up idolizing his hero Pedro Martinez. He features a fastball there at 98, curveball, and again his signature pitch, the changeup. Like another great Dominican from 40 years ago with the Reds, Mario Soto, who his signature pitch was also a power changeup.
Ball and 2 strikes to Ronald Acuna, who was 1 for 6 in the opener yesterday. Castillo's 2020, and it was uneven for a lot of stars because of the nature of the 60-game schedule. It didn't feature the big strikeout total games that the Reds had seen in each of the past couple of years. He did finish the year with good numbers, however, and that one's backhanded by Galvis, but he's unable to pick up cleanly, and Acuna is going to be aboard. We'll see how that one's scored.
And as a shortstop, you got to come up cleanly. Acuna runs well. Galvis knows that and just sped up a little bit and took his eye off the ball. Ball came up just a little bit on him. And that last hop got him.
Is that an easy E6 for you, or are you considering scoring that as a hit?
E6. E6.
Okay. Got it. So the leadoff hitter aboard now for yesterday's hero, the 4-time All-Star and MVP candidate Freddie Freeman, who jumps on the first pitch and skies a fly ball into the sun field for Akiyama. Let's take you back to the walk-off hit yesterday and the swing that ended the marathon in the bottom of the 13th. Here's some unauthorized TMZ-style cell phone footage of Freddie's wife Chelsea and their son Charlie.
That's awesome.
Empty ballpark, only family allowed in yesterday, so it was pretty easy to find the Freeman fam.
Awesome. Love that. And the little man watching history, his daddy. That's pretty cool.
The Freemans are expecting twins, so the family growing.
Interesting matchup here. Ozuna, who hits 492 of the fastball all year, Major League's best. And you see him fastball hunting there early, but 98 a little late on that.
Ozuna with a 0 for 5 opener yesterday, 3 strikeouts for the National League's home run and RBI leader during the regular season. And by the way, they have scored that Acuna ball as a single.
It's Christmas in October in Atlanta.
I got no problem with that. I mean, it was hitting to the hole. Acuna runs well.
Being generous.
I'm in a giving mood today.
I like it.
We've got the coffee dosage just right. A check in for Ronald.
That coffee dose is just right, like 6, 7, 10. How many you got?
Somewhere in the middle of all that, Buster. It's like a 7+ to get us to the right level this morning.
I counted 27 yesterday for me. 27. They're small cups, though. Like, Knicks keeps loading me up here. Small cups here in Bristol.
We think he's making that up, but
I'm not.
I guarantee you, America, that's an accurate number. 0-2 the count to Marcell Ozuna. One out, one on to start the last of the first. Acuna's running. Barnhart anticipating it. Still not in time to get Acuna at the bag.
I love this. Castillo very slow to the plate. 1.5, 1.6. Anything over 1.4 is good to run. And the classic Ricky Henderson slide.
Note the big pad that Acuna wears that covers the left hand and wrist. That's the wrist that gave him trouble this year. Landed him on the IL, slowed him down at the end of the year, so he is wrapped up tight on that left side. No problem with the slide. RBI opportunity for Ozuna now, and it's 2-2. If it wasn't for Freddie Freeman's MVP portfolio, you'd be talking about Ozuna as the guy who'd represent that for the Braves at least. A great 1 and 1A for the Braves this year. 2-2.
So you just saw Ozuna take back-to-back pitches, both down. That means he's cognizant of the changeup. You want to do a little bit fastballs up, changeups down. Change his eyes a little bit. It's better there.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
What Ian Anderson did with Votto in his last 2 pitches, changeups down, 90, 97 fastball for the strikeout. You want to go north and south when you're a fastball changeup guy.
Yeah, that last pitch that Anderson threw to strike out Votto was his firmest velocity of the year. It's the postseason, man. Guys hump up for a little bit extra here. 3-2. Turning into a pretty nice battle here between Castillo and Ozuna early on. Luis Castillo, by the way, has faced the Braves on 3 prior occasions. None coming this year, of course, with the regional nature of the 60-game schedule. But 2 of the 3 games that he's faced the Braves have come in this ballpark, and the numbers have not been particularly good. Castillo lasted only 4 innings in each, gave up a total of 7 runs on 10 hits. And he's having a hard time putting Ozuna away today. Boy, we saw this yesterday in both of our games, Alex. The early game between the Reds and Braves, and certainly in that Yankees-Indians game. The postseason plays out differently. Each at-bat is a grind. 50 pitches in the postseason, I mean, that's the equivalent maybe of a 90-pitch count during the regular season, because by and large, they're all stress pitches.
Yeah, leverage pitches are... And you mentioned with Anderson, his last pitch at 97, the fastest of the year. There's no coincidence. He's got those adrenalines pumping, and every pitch counts more.
Still a full count to Ozuna. Still a full count to Ozuna.
Alex, what's the approach against a pitcher like this who throws really hard but has that great changeup? How do you discern if you're in the box?
Yeah, it's exactly what Ozuna's doing right now. Is you want to hit the fastball the other way, and that 88-mile-an-hour changeup, you hope he gets it up, and that one you can hit it right over the shortstop's head. Stay inside the baseball. If you try to pull this guy, you're dead.
Got him. 98 just outside the strike zone. Good enough to strike out Ozuna for route number 2.
And like Ian Anderson, Matty, we're talking about the importance of elevating the fastball. If that fastball right there is 6 inches down, it's put in play. But it's 98 above the belt. The blind spot for the modern day hitter.
So now the opportunity lies with Travis d'Arnaud, the Braves catcher today. 1 for 5 in the opener yesterday. and batting cleanup for the second consecutive postseason game. The Braves were a very good two-strike hitting team, a very good two-out hitting team during the regular season. With two outs in particular, they hit 254. That was the 5th highest average in Major League Baseball. Doesn't sound like a lot, 254, but in comparison to the rest of the league,
solid.
Ranks them 5th. Yesterday, however, 1 for 13 batting with 2 outs. And quickly, d'Arnaud falls behind 0-2.
And that's the adjustment right there. That's a different Castillo than the first 10 pitches where everything was down by the knees. That fastball needs to be up. It makes your changeup, your signature changeup, a much better pitch.
I got to believe he's got him set up for that changeup here. Acuna at second with 2 gone, the 0-2. No, went back to the fastball, elevated it, and d'Arnaud fouls it away. That, we're told, is the Braves grounds crew / drum and bugle corps.
The Braves are all in, and I love it.
d'Arnaud into the opposite field, but it carries for Castellanos to retire the side. Nothing comes to the leadoff single and stolen base. An inning in the books. Scoreless in Atlanta.
765 pitches in these 2 games. What great work by you quarterbacking us through it.
Great work by our whole crew. Are you kidding? You guys, those of us on the air, are behind-the-scenes production crew. I did not realize, Buster, by the time we got off the air last night, that Yankees-Indians game was the longest 9-inning game in history. Didn't even register.
Oh, and throw in 76 minutes of rain delays, too.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Eugenio Suarez leads things off in the Cincinnati second. Suarez, Moustakas, and Winker against Ian Anderson, who was very efficient in a 1-2-3 start to the ball game today. Just 22 years old. Atlanta's #1 pitching prospect at the start of the year. Because he's now anchored into the rotation, I don't think you can still refer to him as such. He has arrived. And you know, there are expectations on a guy when he's selected 3rd overall. And not only was there that kind of innate pressure, but they moved him along the system rather rapidly. He only made 5 starts above Double-A at the time of his call-up this year. Two balls and 2 strikes. And the Braves were very candid in their assessment, agreeing with folks who thought, you know, maybe it wouldn't have been this year had everything broken right for the Braves from a pitching standpoint. Had Fultonavich been around all year, had Soroka not gone down with an injury, Hamels not gone down with an injury, they needed him. Really couldn't afford the luxury of any more, quote, developmental time. Still 3-2 to Eugenio Suarez.
Alex, the thing that always jumps out at me on young pitchers sometimes is how much mound presence they have. And from this guy's first inning in the big leagues, it just screams out at you what his comfort level is.
No doubt about it. He looks like he's been around for 10 years. He looks like a winner. He looks very comfortable. And Buster, of course, you're biased because he was, I guess, supposed to go to Vanderbilt, right?
Right. He was a Vanderbilt.
Well, that made me bias against him, right?
Instead, signed right out of high school. Suarez with a rocket into left field and a base hit to open the second. ESPN.com's Kylie McDaniel is with us on the telecast today and in the ballpark at Truist Field. And Kylie, we understand you were in the room when Ian Anderson was drafted as the number 3 overall choice in 2016.
Yes, I was working in the front office with the Braves in 2016, and the discussion eventually came down to Nick Senzel, who's playing today for the Reds in the outfield, and Anderson for the 3rd overall pick. And the interesting thing is you guys were hitting correctly at the top that he is a changeup over curveball guy right now. That was not the case when he was in high school, and it was a fastball curveball. You'd see a changeup. You thought it could be a pitch at some point, and the discussion in the room was we can't afford to go get a Garrett Cole in free agency and pay the big money for that. We have to draft and develop those guys. We think Ian Anderson can be a frontline starter that can win you a playoff game. So if he's there, we have to take him. And now today, just 4 years later, earlier than you'd expect, you get to see if he's the kind of guy that can win you a playoff series.
Kylie, I like that too. And one of the things that I believe in is I like drafting pitchers from up north. And Anderson from upstate New York, here's a great card with low mileage versus, kids from the South. I grew up playing 60, 70, 80 games ever since I was 10, 11 years old. Up north, you have the short high school seasons, and I think that's a big benefit in the long haul for pitchers like Anderson.
Yes, you have to do a lot more. You have to do a lot more projecting because you might see him throw in a high school game, a handful of changeups. You're not going to realize for most even trained eyes that's going to be the difference-making pitch in the playoffs for him. But the last year or two, the changeup has really come to the fore, while the curveball has settled at average to above average. The changeup has become that out pitch, and that's why you have to scout between the ears a guy that can really improve, make adjustments, and things like that. Because we've seen with Lincecum, Verlander, guys like that, they'll just develop a changeup almost out of nowhere late in their career.
Kylie, did he always have this kind of mound presence from the first time you guys laid eyes on him?
That was the first time I saw him was the summer of 2015 at Perfect Game National. And when he walked on the mound, it was mid-90s hammer breaking ball. And a lot of times you're used to seeing guys like that just have huge stuff but don't know what to do with it. And from the beginning, you knew that guy could pitch.
Turn took a little time to try to double off Moustakas there as Albies had a problem getting it out of the glove. So the Braves settled with 1 out on the play, and Moustakas is aboard on a fielder's choice.
Nice play here. Good feed. Albies has a little problem with the footwork. Ball should have been a double play. I think he missed the bag. Tries to go back. Should have been 2, only 1.
So 1 out, 1 on. Moustakas support now for Jesse Winker. Winker had a hit yesterday. Was removed in the extra innings for a pinch runner. Check that, 0 for 3. 0 for 3 yesterday. He was in fact hit by a pitch and almost hit by another. $12 homers during the regular season for Winker. We talked about the monthly splits for him yesterday. Had a huge month of August, followed by a slower September. It's that good changeup, 1-1. So good he lost his bat. Delino DeShields Sr., first base coach on David Bell's staff.
Look out.
Why does it always feel like it's the changeup when a guy loses a bat? I mean, I can think of some of the great bat throwers in the history of the game. Jeremy Burnitz, Cliff Johnson, the big ex-Yankee and A. It was always a changeup that had those guys out front, and then the bat goes flying.
I agree. I wasn't a bat thrower, but I remember facing Pedro, and this changeup was so devastating. I used a 34-inch Louisville Slugger. Sometimes I wish it was 44 inches because the ball just never got to you. And you're just trying to extend, and I think it's a good sign. I mean, your hands are relaxed, so you're letting it go.
Ball and a strike to count to Winker. Throws him another one, 2-1. You know, we've talked about Anderson's use of the changeup, but specifically the way he grips it is different than most. It is not a garden variety circle change. He uses a four-seam changeup similar to the one that Pedro Martinez used to throw. And the irony is, you know, you've got this matchup between young right-handers who feature plus changeups and the guy that grew up idolizing Pedro in the Dominican Republic, Luis Castillo, throws it differently than Pedro did. Ian Anderson from New York throws a Pedro-style changeup.
And the battle of righties here today, Matt, is going to be who can execute the north and south game. And Anderson does it perfectly. 90 on the changeup down, 97 up top. North and south. Thing of beauty. Marty Foster, the 21-year veteran, is the home plate umpire tonight. Plays it pretty straight for both sides. Nothing out of the world. Good umpire. He threw out Winker last year. Something to watch. And then David Bell also got thrown out on the same game. So when a hitter has a history with an umpire, you want to make sure that anything, there might be some eye contact, there might be talks, but bad blood is already embedded.
Can't hug it out either. Social distancing and all. Still a full count to Jesse Winker with a runner aboard and one gone here in the top half of inning number 2. Anderson's not easy to run on, and that's another one of the differences between he and Castillo. He's a little quicker to the plate than the Reds right-hander.
Runner should be running here.
There goes Moustakas. Pitch is taken for ball 4. Let's check in the studio and say good morning, good afternoon to Kevin Connors. Hi, Kevin.
Good afternoon, Matt. Good to chat with you. Time for today's Wild Card Roundup brought to you by Coors Light. Marlins outfielder Starling Marte suffered a non-displaced fracture in his hand yesterday. Won't start game 2, but is available to pinch run and play defense. Sanchez Darvish, the pitching matchup. Marlins try to close out the Cubs. 2 Eastern, Matt, ABC.
Well, it's going to be a fun one to watch. I mean, Yu Darvish coming off such a bounce back 2020 and back in the postseason. And Sixto Sanchez, strikeout artist, young right-hander for the Miami Marlins. That's going to be a dynamite game.
Exciting to watch. Electric stuff.
Nick Senzel takes a first pitch curveball for strike 1. Yeah, he'll show you that one too. Senzel led off yesterday. Had a couple of base hits. At one point, returning to the bag on a pickoff play, appeared to jam his shoulder, and there was concern at the time that maybe he'd be unable to continue. Back out there today. And quickly behind 0-2. Here's that matchup that Kylie talked about between two players who were both considered by the Braves with that number 3 draft choice, that number 3 overall pick in 2016. Back to the curveball and missed.
1-2.
Man, we talked about pitchers being from up north. You look at John Smoltz from Michigan. Tom Glavine, Massachusetts. In short, I like pitchers from north, hitters from south.
Wow, fastball just missed. I'll give you that regional bias. That's okay.
Or did he just miss?
Oof. He's had back-to-back pitches now, according to K-Zone, where he got strikes.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Senzel. Back to the curveball. Senzel lifts it out to shallow left. And there are 2 away. Rob wrong, or did he not throw him a changeup in that plate appearance?
It's a lot of breaking stuff.
I think it was curveballs and fastballs there, which is an interesting kind of departure from his strength, if only for one hitter. I love playing that kind of guessing game. We did that yesterday with Bauer when you try to, you try to manage the game along with him and try to figure out what he's doing. And when you can't figure out a pattern from where we sit on the couch, it'd be just as hard for an opposing hitter to do that.
Well, sometimes pitchers get into this tendency of pitching to the weakness of the hitter versus their strength. I always like the latter. Pitch to your strength.
There's Freddie Galvis now with 2 out and 2 on here in the top of the second. Galvis was used off the bench yesterday. The ball and no strikes to the former Padre and Philly, among other uniforms. That changeup makes Ian Anderson really tough on left-handed batters. Galvis, a switch hitter who's in from the left side. In fact, in 62 Buster, 62 at-bats against left-handed batters, Anderson has yielded just 9 singles. That's it. What did I interrupt you from, Buster? Jinx?
You mentioned he throws a Pedro Martinez changeup. He actually grew up in upstate New York as a big Red Sox fan. The first game he won was in Yankee Stadium. Second game he won was in Fenway Park. And he talked about how he took it all in his first appearance in the big leagues, against 2 teams that he knew very well.
Buster, I was just really starting to like this young man, Ian Anderson, and you gave me some bad news. A Red Sox fan.
Yeah, that debut against the Yankees was spectacular at the end of August. And there's ball 4 to Galvis. Only run he allowed was on a home run by Luke Voigt. And by the way, he has not allowed a home run since.
Nothing to be ashamed. Home run off Voigt. I mean, he seems to hit home runs off everybody this year.
Give one up to the major league leader.
That's right.
You're in good company. Pitching coach Rick Kranitz comes out to diagnose things with him. He's loaded the bases on a base hit and 2 walks. Fielder's choice play mixed in between. Well, the Reds had a couple of bases loaded opportunities go by the wayside yesterday. They have been gifted another one here, and the opportunity lies with Tucker Barnhart. Barnhart was hitless yesterday. Came into the game late and ended up with 3 at-bats. Kurt Casale started game 1 yesterday with Trevor Bauer.
Great changeup there, 88 depth.
Some of those versus left-handed hitters numbers that we talked about. Bases loaded for Tucker Barnhart, the left-handed hitting catcher.
Another one. Put him away right here. Don't waste any pitches.
Oh, 0-2 with the bases loaded. On the ground for Albies, and the rookie right-hander gets out of a bases loaded jam. In Minnesota, And Houston awaits a winner between the White Sox and A's. That one on ESPN at 3 Eastern today. Dane Dunning and Mike Fiers on the mound for the Oakland A's. It's going to be a good one. Luis Castillo back to work. Scoreless this afternoon in Atlanta to start the ball game. Albies, Duvall, and Swanson here for the Braves.
Luis Castillo grew up in Bani, Dominican Republic. Any Dominican kid that grows up pitching in Dominican wants to be Pedro Martinez. When you're Pedro Martinez and Ramon Martinez, you want to be Juan Marshall, Mario Soto.
A sharper start to this one for Castillo than his final regular season tune-up. We talked about how he pitched on Saturday at Minnesota. He allowed 5 extra base hits, and that tied his single game career high. And again, you know, you're not going to judge a guy on one start, especially when it's his final start of the season, but those games mattered for the Reds down the stretch. Cincinnati had such a terrific end to the regular season. Got them to where they are in the postseason today.
When you look at Castillo's mannerisms, it resembles Pedro a little bit, and he used to sit at home with his father in his living room, never missed a Pedro Martinez start. And then after the start, they would go back and review and talk about lessons learned from watching Pedro. And when you watch Castillo, I see a little bit of Pedro in him. Change up here.
1-1 to Adam Duvall is popped up. Barnhart's got it. There are 2 away in the second. StatCast powered by Google Cloud, kind of on cue, talking about the changeup and Pedro Martinez and all things finesse. Most strikeouts on the changeup this season. Luis Castillo atop this leaderboard, as he has been for a couple of years now. Zach Davies wearing a San Diego Padres uniform this year. Get that fixed. Here's Dansby Swanson with 2 gone.
You know what's really cool about, you mentioned Castillo's hero being Pedro Martinez, how accessible Pedro Martinez is to this generation of pitchers.
Yep.
You hear it all the time, how he's talking to these guys. They reach out to him. He spends time with them. He goes to lunch with these guys. He counsels them. He tells them everything he knows. Pretty awesome.
Indeed. And even though Castillo throws 98, the best pitch is 88 on the changeup. He scares you with the hammer and throws you the pillow.
2 balls and a strike to count to Swanson. Yeah, you know, I think there are probably Red Sox fans that wish he wasn't so accessible. But, you know, he cozies up to Luis Severino of the rival Yankees and, you know, refines grip and command points. And Red Sox fans are like, dude, you're one of our guys. What are we doing?
That's a great point. When I asked Severino, why are you so good? Just a few years ago, you look like a different guy. He goes, man, I spoke to Pedro. He cleaned me up. He changed my grip. He's talking to me about my work. I said, this is great. An all-time Red Sox is making a Yankee fantastic. Awesome.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Then I said, we need Big Papi to work with some of our hitters.
Fair is fair, after all. Swing and a miss by Swanson. Second strikeout of the afternoon for Luis Castillo. We've played 2 scoreless in Atlanta. Welcome back. The rest of our day has changed in terms of the wild card series because we've just learned that Game 2 between the Marlins and Cubs at Wrigley has been postponed. They'll play Game 2 Friday at 1 p.m. local time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern. So the next game on the docket today is the pivotal Game 3, the decisive Game 3 between the White Sox and A's in Oakland. Game 2 between the Padres and Cardinals, and then the nightcap once again, the Dodgers and Brewers out west. Scoreless for Shogo Akiyama to lead things off in the top half of inning number 3. Akiyama, Castellanos, and Votto here for Cincinnati. Reds had a bases loaded opportunity to go by the boards in the second. One hit on both sides. Today's starting the same way yesterday's played out, as Akiyama sends a fly ball to right for Markakis. You know, invariably, Alex, with these multiple games in a day, right, there's always one series that gets stunted that has to play early. And I can remember talking about the Padres. The last time San Diego was in the postseason 14 years ago, they played the Cardinals in 06, and all those division series games were early West Coast time. The sun is different. The body clock is different. It's unavoidable because with so many games, somebody has to play early, but it's a very foreign experience for guys that are used to playing at either 7:05 or 1:30 or 1 o'clock to play a noon start Eastern time.
Fair point. And there's some guys that like to sleep in past noon. And all of a sudden you're in the third inning by the time you're supposed to be waking up. It's a big adjustment for sure.
I mean, it changes the way the game plays out. And neither one of these teams have looked very potent offensively over the last day and a half. And I'm not making excuses for anybody, but I do believe that start time does play a role, maybe a small one, but it does play some kind of role. Brian Snicker told us yesterday that day games here in this ballpark, they get a lot of glare off the cutouts. It's something that they had to change a little bit. They bent them back.
Yeah.
But who knows to what degree that has played into things the last day or so here.
And one thing that's for sure, the October lighting is much different than in the summertime. And it gets darker sooner and a lot more shadows in October than you say August or July. Great
and
pitch.
A called strike 3 taken by Castellanos. That's number 2 for Anderson today.
Good fastball here. Conviction, good extension. And Anderson threw 27 pitches last inning, over a dozen of those because of the mishandle of Albies at second base. That could mean one less inning later on.
0-1 to Joey Votto, a strikeout victim in the first. Swung and missed at a 97.9 mile an hour heater.
We saw in last night's game that the Yankees had issues getting the ball from Britton to Chapman. And Albies mishandled that ball a little bit on the double play, which could mean one less inning for Anderson, which could have a ramification later on in the game. So it's something to watch. You want to play clean baseball in October, and so far, not so good.
And a called strike 3 to Votto. Second time Anderson's rung him up today. A 1-2-3 top of the third. To the bottom of the inning. Still Shakis, Austin Riley, and then top of the order Ronald Acuna. Scoreless early on today. And again, this one taking a page out of yesterday's narrative. Not a lot of traffic and virtually no scoring. A ball and a strike to count to Markakis. Luis Castillo has retired 6 in a row after the leadoff single by Acuna. We watched a masterful Trevor Bauer yesterday. Castillo trying to follow suit in game 2 and stave off elimination for Cincinnati. You know, by the way, speaking of Bauer and his Cy Young candidacy, Buster, Alex, it's shocking to me that the Reds have never had a Cy Young Award winner. And you talk about the oldest franchise in the National League. Cy Young Award's been around since 1956, yet no Red has ever won it. Speaking of pitching, let's go back to the final out in the previous half inning.
Yeah, I was surprised that Anderson got this call on the changeup low and away. I thought it was down. And usually you don't see a guy like Votto not get the call against the rookie on a ball down and away.
And that ball was down, too.
Alex, I mean, Votto is known to really know the strike zone very well. Has led the league in walks multiple times, and he's a respected player in the way that you were by umpires with the knowledge of the strike zone. How would you feel in a situation like that?
I would probably be surprised, just like Votto was. But, you know, Marty, he's a kind of no BS guy. You notice that Votto thought about it, didn't talk to him much. Surprised, disappointed. But, you know, for Votto, he's now struck out twice. Once in the fastball up, the second time on the changeup down. He has him in a rocking chair. It'll be very interesting to see what happens next at bat. But if I'm Votto, I'm not looking to nitpick. I'm looking to swing the bat and do some damage, because one swing can change the game.
One-two to Riley, swung on and missed. Major League Baseball encourages fans to take an active role in their communities and make a plan to vote this election season. Visit MLB.com/vote to learn more. Two gone now, bases empty for the top of the order, Ronald Acuna. You know, to button up the thought on Votto and his knowledge of the strike zone, this is a guy who's led the league in walks 5 times. He's led the league in on-base percentage 7 times, and he recently passed Pete Rose for the franchise career walks record.
Wow.
I mean, when your name appears above Pete Rose in any category, it gets your attention.
Absolutely. You're talking about a Cincinnati Reds royalty, both those guys, Rose and Votto.
Ball and a strike to count to Acuna.
That's a set me up pitch. The 2-1 pitch here coming up should be a changeup or a little slider. And when you're in the box, you know that, right? Purpose pitch, now the slider.
3 balls and a strike to Acuna.
Now, if I'm in Acuna's head right now, I'm thinking, okay, I saw the fastball in, the slider, fastball, don't get too big. Here comes the changeup. 88.
Full count.
Boy, is this fun.
Okay, so what now?
I have no
idea. By the way, are you calling pitches after you see the signs?
No.
I love this guessing game with you.
Change up again. See, we didn't see the sign there.
It's shot right back up the middle.
Here we go.
The second hit of the game for Ronald Acuna.
Great at bat. 3-2. Change up down. I mean, this is just phenomenal. Buster, we talked about his discipline yesterday. Gets better and better. I love this kid. The upside is off the charts. He has swagger. He has power. And he keeps getting better. And talking to Ron Washington, he says tremendous work ethic. He wants to learn. I love it.
Braves would love to get Acuna into scoring position for Freddie. Since the beginning of the 2015 season, Freeman leads Major League Baseball in batting average with runners in scoring position, a .345 hitter over a very long time.
So, Matty, a lot of times I hit third and Jeter hit first or second. And with 2 outs in this situation, I would have a sign with Jeter. And I would say, give me 2 shots at it. If I get behind 0-2, 1-2, I want you to go. And we would look at each other and make eye contact. If he went and he made it, great. 1-2, I can score. If he's out, I lead off the next inning. Win.
Let's see if Acuna runs on this 0-2 pitch.
Why not?
Stole the base in the first. Ball and 2 strikes. Castillo's aware of him over there. Checks in at first base. Oh, so close to that elusive 40-40 season in his All-Star campaign a year ago. 37 bags, 41 homers. 2-2. Acuna stays put again, and Freeman fouls it off. Gave himself a little ankle burger there.
And if Acuna stays healthy, Matty, I think he's a guy that can do 45-45, and that's never been done before.
Wow.
He's that good. He's got the hair, he's got the chain, he's got the swagger. This is the kind of guy that if I was a kid, he would be one of my favorite players.
Freeman serves it into the opposite field, hit it on a line, and it carried to Akiyama to retire the side. Nothing comes of the 2-out single. We've played 3 complete scoreless in Atlanta. Matt Vasgersian back with the Braves and Reds and a scoreless draw. Same way we started yesterday. Same way we went into the 13th inning yesterday. In fact, for the Cincinnati Reds, this is becoming a thing now. Take a look at some of the combined numbers. Not exactly eye-popping offensive totals. A lot of strikeouts for sure. 37 of them yesterday, a major league record for 2 teams in a postseason game. But for the Reds, they are approaching a futility record that they just as soon avoid. They've been shut out now for 16 consecutive innings to start this postseason. The record is 20 innings, held by the 1921 New York Giants.
Wow. A long time.
And a called strike 3 taken by Eugenio Suarez. That's 4 on the day and 3 in a row for Ian Anderson.
And Anderson looking good. Another 4-seamer, top of the zone, 94 miles an hour. And both pitchers are getting in a rhythm. That's why as an offense, you want to get these big right-handers early, because as they get their rhythm, they become tougher to hit.
Here's Mike Moustakas now. He reached on a fielder's choice in the second and is 0 for 6 in the series. The Braves of 2018 also had a long stretch of consecutive scoreless innings. They were pushed around by the Dodgers in the division series that year. And at one point, it's the beginning of the season, actually, beginning of the series, they went 19 straight innings against LA to open that series without a run.
I have a question for Matt and for Buster.
Okay.
The lack of contact in today's game is mind-blowing. Yesterday's game, 45% of the plate appearances did not put the ball in play. I'm wondering, a guy like Pete Rose that makes so much contact in today's game, would he be celebrated or would people stay away from him?
Oh boy, well
he'd be celebrated.
He'd be celebrated because he was such an outlier when it comes to contact. Like he was so otherworldly with his bat on ball skills. A guy like Pete, Tony Gwynn, that kind of hitter. Rod Carew.
Yeah.
But I know what you're driving at, right? The way hitting skill sets are valued, that outhouse or castle guy gets more consideration than the guy that's going to hit 280 without as much power.
Yeah.
Moustakas strikes out. It's 4 in a row for Anderson.
Anderson is on fire. Power fastballs, top of the zone, and the changeup. Pulled the string right here. You see that right there. And a nice movement away. It's got it rolling now.
4 in a row and 5 all told for Anderson through the middle stages of the game. And here's Jesse Winker, the DH, who walked back in the second. He too's been held hitless in the series. Winker flips a little drive into the opposite field, and it's a quick 1-2-3-4 turned in by the rookie right-hander. Still scoreless. Joined by Reds manager David Bell as we set for the bottom half of the fourth. David, talk about some of the lineup changes you made today to try to jumpstart your offense.
Yeah, we just wanted to go with our best lineup today. We had good options. Nick Senzel's been getting back into the flow of things, and wanted to keep him in there after getting the 2 hits yesterday.
Castillo looks great, David. Any surprises? How long can he go? He has 53 pitches now.
We're hoping to get him as deep into the game as possible. As we know, our starting pitching is a strength of our team. Our bullpen has been outstanding. So if he does run into trouble, we have our entire bullpen behind him to pick him up. But the way Luis has been pitching and getting ahead here and using his fastball, we'd like to see how deep he can go into the game.
Yep.
Every lineup, David, as we know, goes through stretches like the one yours is going through right now. Good pitching by the Braves. We'll tip our cap there. But for you, from a manager's perspective, is it tempting to try to jumpstart things? You send runners, you put plays on. How much of that factors into your decision making?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this Braves pitching staff, both their starters and their bullpen and their relievers have pitched us tough. They made pitches when they needed to. We've had some opportunities to score runs and haven't been able to get it done. Part of our team is getting on base with walks, and we've been able to hit home runs. Yesterday we were able to get some hits. We just weren't able to come through there with runners in scoring position. But I do give credit to the Braves pitching staff, and we believe in who we are, and if there is any opportunities to do anything different, there's no doubt getting on the board here and getting a run would help us break through and get everyone to relax.
David, thanks for the visit. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, David.
4th strikeout of the afternoon for Luis Castillo. Now it's Travis d'Arnaud batting with 1 out and the bases empty.
Boy, that was a filthy changeup he threw to Osuna. 2 strikeouts, 1 on the fastball, 1 on the change.
I mean, this is an absolute carbon copy of game 1 of the series. Both starters good yesterday. Fried and Bauer today. Castillo and Anderson. Ball and a strike to Travis d'Arnaud. Went back out there. 2 balls and a strike. For the Reds, and unfortunately for David Bell, he's seen this before. Cincinnati was shut out 7 times in 60 games during the regular season. No team was shut out more.
How many times?
7.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. The Tigers, Royals, and Marlins also shut out 7 times. But think about that. 2 of the 4 teams that were shut out the most are in the postseason this year.
Interesting. But Matty, I mean, those numbers are different this year in 2020. 7 times. If you put that in a regular season, you're talking about 21 times.
Yeah.
Plus or minus, right? So that's a significant number. And now you prorate that in October with greater pitching. It just gets worse. It doesn't get better.
2 balls and 2 strikes to count to Travis d'Arnaud. You know, the effect that has on your pitching staff, the thought that your starter thinks he's got to throw a shutout every time just to stay in the game, that takes a toll as well.
Yeah, no margin of error. As a pitcher, you realize, and it happened to Bauer yesterday, through a beautiful game, no margin for error. You give a guy like Bauer a 3 or 4 run lead, good night.
Oh, he's got it working now. 5 strikeouts for Luis Castillo.
Get your ice cold Bud Light. Bud Light. South to here. I walk these streets. I don't see houses. I see seat numbers. G9, G21. I mean, this whole street is row G. Nice shutters, ma'am. But I don't need to burden you with my process. Bud Light here.
2 gone for Castillo. Now he goes to work on the switch hitter, Ozzie Albies.
And for Castillo, it's not just the fastball and the changeup, it's now the slider. A small one, strike 3, little backup one. Has it all working.
Oh, 0-2 to Ozzie Albies. Ozzie was swinging a hot bat the final 3 weeks of the season after being reactivated off the IL. Missed 30 games with a bone contusion in his right wrist. Kind of a cruel irony that both Albies and Acuna suffered from wrist injuries for much of the shortened season this year. This is the energy that makes the Braves go.
Man, those injuries, you really recover 100% in 2021. They're lingering injuries, and you mess with a hitter's hands.
Into center field, a 2-out base hit.
Good fastball in here by Castillo. In. Good hitting. Keeping his hands tight. Not trying to do too much. Nice hitting. Back up the box. Pete Rose.
This series has got to find some slug. 4 singles so far in this one today. Adam Duvall's a candidate.
Yeah. I look at the Braves to be aggressive here with Ozzie. I'd like to see him run in the first pitch or 2. Push the envelope a little bit.
First pitch to the former Reds All-Star is swung on and missed. Adam Duvall, a comeback player of the year candidate. And I would imagine that award will exist despite the shortened nature of the schedule. 11 of his 16 homers coming in the final month of the season. They came in bunches for Adam Duvall this year.
There he goes.
0-2. There were 10 3-homer games by players in 2020. 10 of them. And Adam Duvall was responsible for 2 of those 10.
Stay hot.
To experience that twice in a 2-month schedule.
Man. Higgy, the Yankees backup catcher, had one of them.
That's right.
I'm not sure who the other 7 are, but
No.
they're very happy guys.
I don't have the list top of mind either, but you know, they range from a backup catcher, right? A guy like Marcelo Zuna, who led the National League in homers. He had a 3-homer game.
I think in Fenway, right?
Yep. I think you're right. Yep. Got him swinging. 3 strikeouts in the inning, 6 on the afternoon for Luis Castillo. A couple of young right-handed changeup specialists this afternoon in game 2, matching one another pitch for pitch. 22, who got Game 3 of the NLDS last year. Ian Anderson is right there in this list, and it is about Ian Anderson that we chat with his manager, Brian Snitker. Snit, you've told us before that this is a young man who acts like he's been there before, and we're seeing it play out before our very eyes this afternoon.
No, you are. I mean, that's the one thing that impresses me most about the kid is just how he commands himself, his clock, the maturity, and it's pretty special, I'll tell you.
Brian, yesterday 515 pitches, 17 innings, 1 run scored. Does it surprise you at all that it was Freddie Freeman that drives in the big run?
No, I said anytime we get him up in that situation and somebody's going to pitch to him, I mean, you're excited because he's been doing it for us for a long, long time, and he's the guy. He's our guy. He's the one you want up there.
On a day like today, we'll ask you the same question we asked David Bell. I mean, without a lot of traffic, there's not a lot of bat on ball. Is it more tempting to try to do something from where you sit as a manager, start a runner, a hit and run, or you're just letting this thing play out?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's something that you might want to try and bunt somebody over or try and get something going because it surely the other way isn't working. It's just this guy is so hard to get a hold of. I mean, there's no mistake. I mean, he's pitching the last 2 days has been unbelievable. I mean, there's a reason why all the strikeouts and all the zeros that have been going up the last 2 days.
For sure. We tip our cap to the starting pitching in this series as well. Brian, we appreciate the visit as always. Best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Matty, can you believe, 515 pitches combined, 17 innings combined, and only 1 run. It's hard to believe, especially with this Braves offense that scored 29 runs in 1 game.
A shot to first. Boy, that was a rocket that was handled by Freddie Freeman for the first down.
Not only can he hit and drive in runs, but the Gold Glover with a great play and a harder play this time of the day. Matty, we talked about how hard it is to see. That ball, very difficult play, perfect timing.
One gone now for Freddie Galvis. We talk to general managers, baseball executives, evaluators all year long who preach the same message that you can't have enough starting pitching. And what's happened with the Braves this year is a clear example that is in fact the right way to build a team. If they didn't have Ian Anderson in the wings, given some of the injuries and underperformance, they'd be in trouble. It's a base hit for Galvis into right.
I think they hit the bag there. Caught a break there. If not, Freddie catches his ball. Ball hits the bag here, and bang. Some good luck for the Reds. Maybe that turns things around for them a little bit. Not even the Gold Glover could catch that one.
Yeah, tried to barehand it. So Galvis is aboard with 1 gone now for Tucker Barnhart. Barnhart grounded a second in his first try today. Ball off the bat of Freddie Galvis, 79 miles an hour. So much for exit velocity. He's standing at first. Yeah, here's what we're talking about. Braves fans are certainly familiar with the narrative of their season. Mike Soroka, torn Achilles, out for the year. Cole Hamels tried to come back at the end of the season from a triceps injury. The shoulder fatigue limited him to just 3 innings all year. Poltonevich DFA'd. Newcomb sent out. Felix Hernandez opted out. Virtually the entire opening day rotation, projected opening day rotation, gone here in the playoffs. Max Fried, Ian Anderson comes up from the minors. They trade for Tommy Malone, then he gets hurt. I mean, you can't have enough of it.
And what a great job that front office has done with the depth of pitching. I mean, to have a guy like Ian Anderson just show up and pitch this well with this composure, outstanding.
Missed with the changeup, a ball and 2 strikes.
I think another example of that as well is Kyle Wright, who has been one of their top pitching prospects for a couple of years. But there have been times when he's got to the big leagues and it felt like the game kind of sped up on him. And then in the last 3 starts of this regular season, after working with a performance coach, he's kind of putting it together. And if we get to a 3rd game, Kyle Wright is their guy. They're very encouraged by his improvement in recent starts.
Elevated fastball strikes out Tucker Barnhart. 6 for Ian Anderson today.
Big job or small, you make sure things get done right. It's not a competition. It's just that you're not willing to settle. Not in your work, not in your hobbies, and never with your bourbon. Evan Williams. Bourbon done right.
2-out base runner at first for the top of the order now, Shogo Akiyama. Breaking ball in for a strike. It's hard to resist doing all the Jethro Tull lyrics, Buster, when Ian Anderson is on the mound. I realize
that has been noted on social media, Matt.
Yeah,
a lot of people chiming in with that.
Yeah, I'm positive of that, and you know, for an old mid-50s classic rock turd such as I, it's hard to not take the bait. 0-1 to Akiyama.
Thank goodness to Anchorman for making us current, right?
Really true. The jazz flute.
Exactly.
At its rare rock and roll application, thanks to Jethro Tull.
I have a rock and roll thing for you next inning.
Oh, you can't dangle that at me and make me wait.
It's a big one.
Okay, all right. Akiyama hitless in the series, was used as a pinch hitter yesterday, 0 for 2 so far this afternoon. And he falls behind the ball and 2 strikes. This was supposed to be a plus lineup with the additions of guys like Akiyama, Castellanos, Moustakas. Talked about it yesterday. President of baseball operations in Cincinnati, Dick Williams, built his team with the DH rule in mind down the road for the National League clubs. Lo and behold, the DH is here, perhaps to stay this season. Yet in this series, the lineup has struggled. 2-2.
Matty, here's my rock and roll hint. Another Englishman besides Ian Anderson. That's my hint.
But we get it next inning?
Yep.
Okay. A swing and a miss by Akiyama. 7 strikeouts for film room. A starting pitching matchup that has delivered. Both of the right-handed changeup specialists have been outstanding in Game 2 in Atlanta this afternoon. Luis Castillo back to work. He gets the bottom third of the Atlanta order. Swanson, Markakis, and Riley for the Braves. Swanson 0 for 6 with 4 strikeouts in the series so far.
All right, Matty, so here's my rock and roll story.
Okay.
You see the Dodgers won last night. They have a long list of celebrities. So do the Yankees.
Celebrity fans, you mean?
Celebrity fans,
okay.
Right? And so do the Braves. The Braves have one. Elton John not only lives in Atlanta.
Wait, what?
Huge Atlanta Braves fan. And I just saw him about 6 months ago. And he started breaking down Braves, their pitching, loves Dale Murphy. Chipper Jones is his absolute favorite. And I thought he was playing a prank on me. But Elton John, huge Braves fan.
2-2. All right. So next time you see, I guess, Elton John, ask him if it's true that Tiny Dancer was actually written for Mark Lemke.
Okay.
I doubt it, but ask him.
Okay.
I mean, if he's that big a Braves fan, maybe there's a whole writing theme to some of his music that we were unaware of.
Rocket Man.
2-2 to Swanson. Swung on and missed.
And for Castillo, best changeup of the day right there. Great location, speed, arm speed. Filth.
7 strikeouts for each starter this afternoon. But both of these guys are feeling it today. I mean, this is picking up right where we left off yesterday with Fried and Bauer. Here's Markakis now.
I got to finish this Elton John thing. I'm curious because we know what Elton John was asking you, Alex. What were you asking Elton John?
I was so intimidated, Buster. I didn't ask much. I thought that, Ashton Kutcher would be somewhere, playing a prank on me. First, I didn't know he had a home in Atlanta. And second, I know that he's from London. The fact that he loves baseball kind of fired me up. And then when he popped up Chipper Jones, my good buddy, I said, oh, man. It fired me up. I've always been a big Elton John fan, even bigger now.
2 balls and a strike. The count to Nick Markakis. Into center field, a base hit. Pitching has certainly become the theme, not only today, but in this series. Again, ESPN.com's Kylie McDaniel is with us in the ballpark. Kylie, we talked about the Braves starter earlier. Give us what you got on Luis Castillo today.
So in 2016, when Ian Anderson was drafted by the Braves, Luis Castillo was a Marlin. He was traded at the deadline in 16 to the Padres. That trade was then reversed because Colin Ray went down with an elbow injury right after being acquired. They then had to trade Castillo back to the Marlins, who then 6 months later, the next offseason, traded him to Cincinnati for Dan Straley. So going back 4 years, both of these starting pitchers were acquired. The groundwork was laid. Here we are today.
First pitch to Austin Riley, bounce to Suarez to Moustakas, no chance at a double play. So Kylie, just to follow up, you're saying 2 teams whiffed on Luis Castillo by trading him away?
In a short period of time, yeah. The Marlins and Padres both could have had him and didn't.
Wow.
2 other playoff teams.
Good point. And look, when you wheel and deal as much as the Padres have done over the past few years, you're going to hit some homers. They've made some great acquisitions, right? Fernando Tatis.
Yeah, they got traded for Fernando Tatis Jr. and a James Shields salary dump at a rookie ball.
Right.
You don't get to do that very often.
Right. And then there have been some misses, trading away guys like Trey Turner.
Yep.
There's Ronald Acuna now with a runner at first and 2 gone. Four singles this afternoon for the Braves, and Acuna's responsible for 2 of them.
And Austin Riley at first base still has a sore hamstring, so may not be able to score on a double, even with 2 outs.
Ball and 2 strikes to Acuna.
Acuna, barely 6 foot tall, this year has hit home runs of 473 feet and 495. One of them off Garrett Cole. Tremendous power and torque generated. Legs, flexibility, and big hands, just like Hank Aaron.
Holds off on the 97-mile elevated fastball. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And if I was Javi Baez, who had a down year this year, I would study a guy like Acuna. I would pick guys in the league that can help me, that can teach me, and I will study their behavior. Look how quiet Acuna is. Unusual for a young player. Look at that take. It is so difficult. And Buster, you had that great nugget yesterday on how much more disciplined he's gone from last year to this year. It is so difficult to take that pitch, and the way he took it and the body language.
Full count with a man on and 2 away. Scoreless tie in the last of the 5th. 3-2 pitch. Seven strikeouts for both of these right-handers, each making a postseason debut. By the way, the most strikeouts in a postseason debut is 14. So we got a ways to go before we hit that mile marker. We've hit a bunch of them in this postseason already, but 5 pitchers, most recently Tim Lincecum in his first ever postseason start in 2010. 14 punch-outs. Castillo will try it again. Here's the next 3-2 pitch, and Acuna serves it into left. That's going to roll the Wild. Do they try it with Riley? They're going to wave him around. He'll score without a play, and Atlanta's on the board in the last of the 5th.
It was the running start for Riley that helped with a bad hamstring. 3-2 in motion, a 3-2 slider from Castillo. Not a good one, a flat one. And Acuna checking in for the 3rd time today as a prime time player. Man, this guy is fun to watch.
A perfect 3-for-3 afternoon and a long-awaited first run of the day. 1-0 Braves.
You know, Matt, it's all about conviction. You'll see he puts a slider down. He doesn't want it. He says slider, no. And he puts it again, slider. What that means is the catcher has conviction, but not the pitcher. You always want the pitcher to have conviction. That means he wanted to throw the changeup. The catcher convinced him to throw a slider. Bad moment for the Reds and for the young man Castillo. And that's what he's thinking about right now. You see that face? That's frustration. Always go with what you want. You have something in your mind, you're going to throw it with conviction. He threw that slider with no conviction. It was flat. It got hammered.
The first earned run of the series given up by a Cincinnati starter.
Now you ask, what's the difference between his hero, Pedro Martinez, and Castillo, which Castillo would learn from this, is he would have told Veritek 5 times, no, talk. Pedro Martinez is going to throw exactly what he wants to throw.
Freddie Freeman's been intentionally walked, so runners at first and second now with a running and 2 away for Marcell Ozuna, who struck out twice today. Both strikeouts swinging in the first and in the 4th.
And if you're Ozuna, you can eliminate the slider here.
Fly ball out to right. Castellanos has it. Braves, however, have scratched across the first run of the afternoon. A 2-out RBI knock by Ronald Acuna makes it 1-0 Atlanta. Well, the National League schedule of games today, the Cubs and Marlins game 2 has been postponed today. If it's the only game on the docket, meaning if St. Louis and Los Angeles win their games today, the Cubs will appear at 7 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN. If not, if there are multiple games tomorrow, the Cubs and Marlins will be on at 2 Eastern on ABC. So, as they say, check your local listings for the time and place. Well, we know the time, and the place will depend on what happens in San Diego and LA today. Ian Anderson back to work, working with a lead for the first time this afternoon. 1-0 Atlanta on the RBI knock by Ronald Acuna last half inning. Castellanos, Votto, and Suarez here for the Reds in their half of the sixth. Ball and 2 strikes to Nick Castellanos, who has struck out today. One of the 7 hung by Anderson in his postseason debut. 2-2. Just about everybody got into the act out of both bullpens yesterday. Tyler Matzik, one of the left-handers that Brian Snitker has available today, is the first up behind Anderson this afternoon. So interesting kind of confluence of events last half inning. You documented the shake, right? They talked about the conviction that Castillo may not have had in throwing the slider that Barnhart called for. Curt Casale is usually the guy who's back there for Castillo. And Curt got dinged up yesterday. He was not available to start this afternoon. Castillo has much more success and much more familiarity with Casale than Barnhart. The ERA differential between catchers is 3 points higher with Barnhart, who's catching him today. There's a swing and a miss. 8 for Ian Anderson today.
And Anderson has been put in on a clinic, and he's been doing it north and south. Up top with the fastballs. 1, 2. Another one. And then the changeup down south. Has gone ahead 15 out of 19 batters. 9 of those 15 with the overhand curveball for strike 1.
0-1 to Joey Votto, who struck out twice today.
Matty, keep going with what you were saying.
Well, the catching difference is pretty severe. And again, not to paint Barnhart as a poor receiver. He's a very good defensive catcher. In fact, a Gold Glover. But there seems to be more of a comfort level between Castillo and Casale. Votto lines to the opposite field throughout number 2. And that's not an indictment on one over the other. It's just a preference thing, perhaps. And maybe in a moment like the one we saw in the bottom of the 5th, that reared its head.
I mean, absolutely. And you saw that with the great Greg Maddux pitching to Perez for a long time. And comfort is so important. And Tim McCarver said, if you put a sign without any conviction, you get a pitch with no conviction.
Two gone, bases empty now for Eugenio Suarez, who has a single on his line today. We talked about it a couple of days ago with the Yankees series, the fact that Tim McCarver was a part of a personal catching situation. Time in Philly. I believe it was Steve Carlton who had a preference for Timmy instead of Bob Boone.
Because, of course, they played together with the Cardinals.
Two balls and 2 strikes to count to Suarez.
It's very underrated, and I don't think given enough credit of how important a catcher is to a certain pitcher. And it's playing pitch and catch. And it's to tell Tom Brady that Gronk is just like throwing to any other tight end would be silly. Well, it would be silly to tell Greg Maddux that he wouldn't want to pitch to Perez. A.J. Burnett, in the World Series in 2009, preferred pitching to Molina, and Girardi put in Molina, who was the lesser offensive player. And that game was won, and that was filthy.
Flipped a breaking ball up around the eyes of Suarez. 6 shutout innings. A spectacular postseason debut for rookie right-hander Ian Anderson. You're watching the 2020 Wildcard Series presented by Hankook Tire. We've never done October like this before, and that means anything can happen. MLB has you covered on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And congratulatory handshakes being issued to Ian Anderson. What a postseason debut. 6 shutout innings. Was never in trouble today.
So impressive. Not only the 3-pitch plus fastball, curveball, changeup, getting ahead of hitters, poised, got into one jam with the bases loaded, and got out of it very nicely with power changeups.
9 strikeouts in his 6 shutout innings. It's a big exhale and a big smile. Only 2 younger starters have appeared as postseason starters in Braves franchise history. Max Fried was great yesterday, kept it scoreless, and Anderson today. One and 2 to Travis d'Arnaud. Changeup just missed inside. d'Arnaud, Albies, and Duvall looking for some insurance. There is nobody comfortable with a 1-0 postseason lead, not even against a team that hasn't scored since Sunday. And that's the case with the Reds. Cincinnati's creeping up on a postseason futility record. Another one. No team has ever played multiple postseason games and failed to score a run in an entire playoff run, right? There have been 1-game wild card shutouts. But because of this new format, if the Reds were to lose today, this would constitute a playoff run. Full count now, 3-2.
Castillo may be down here to his last few hitters. 97 pitches.
d'Arnaud has a base hit into the right field corner.
Great hitting here by d'Arnaud. Fastball up and in. High 90s and fights it the other way. Good hitting. Not trying to do too much.
Both bullpens are hot here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Here's Ozzie Albies now. He's got a base hit in this one. Nothing but singles on today's line score as Albies falls behind 0-1. Lucas Sims pitched in yesterday's opener. He's up for the Reds. Same set of Will Smith on the Atlanta side. Smith was nasty yesterday.
Filthy slider. Good fastball. Mid-90s.
I want to correct myself. Acuna's RBI knock in the 5th was scored as a double. So 1 extra base hit on the afternoon. 1-1.
Drastic shift for Albies. Third baseman playing way off the line.
Two balls and a strike to Ozzie Albies.
Good fastball. 102nd pitch, still 97 miles an hour. Top of the zone. both Ian Anderson and Castillo have been as good as advertised.
Two-two to Albies is served into the opposite field. It'll chase Akiyama shy of the track. Darno has to retreat to first.
And like I said, nasty all day long. Fastballs. And it's not just the changeup. It's the slider here. Back to back. And now the changeup. The signature pitch.
1 out, 1 on, and the first pitching change of the afternoon comes in the last of the 6th as Castillo is removed in a 1-0 game. The Reds go to the bullpen. We'll be right back.
Back to back for the Cincinnati Reds.
He leaves, unfortunately, for the Reds in a deficit situation and hands it off to Lucas Sims. 20 regular season appearances at 2.45 ERA. Sims pitched in yesterday's opener. And he inherits a base runner and gets 1 out as he goes to work on Adam Duvall.
Through 20 pitches yesterday, and of course, scoreless. And if you're the Reds, I mean, you've got everything you can ask for from your starters. Bauer and Castillo were splendid.
Sims among the pitchers, and it's a growing number of pitchers to have shortened his arm path. Much more compact delivery. We talk about this often. Lucas Giolito standing as the shining example of the change in mechanics, the tighter arm path, if you will, that's led to so much success. Ball and 2 strikes to Adam Duvall. Not for everybody, right? There have been a lot of pitchers who have, I guess, experimented with that, who have gone back to the longer arm swing, the more traditional arm path. But for guys like Sims, it's worked. Boy, and a slider that missed by plenty that he gets Duvall to strike out on.
I mean, this is filthy, and it's tight, and Sims just jumps at you, and then the ball just never gets there. But he's very violent.
I mean, that's the kind of pitch it always leads me to the old Lasorda line. Garvey couldn't hit that ball with an oar. It's true. 2 gone. Dansby Swanson, 2 strikeouts in as many attempts against Castillo, the starter. Darno, the base runner, is the responsibility of Castillo, and that's lined right to the second baseman, Mike Moustakas. Good relief work by Sims to keep it a 1-0 Atlanta lead. Plus, Game 2 of the NBA Finals between the Heat and Lakers tomorrow, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific over on ABC. It's all playing on ESPN and the ESPN app. Here's the futility record that we've got our eyes on, and unfortunately for the Reds, they're an inning away from matching the 1921 Giants with 20 consecutive scoreless innings to begin a postseason. Moustakas, Winker, and Senzel will try to prevent that from taking place. Easier said than done against the veteran left-hander Will Smith, the Georgia native who threw an inning and a third of scoreless relief yesterday that included 3 strikeouts. And of all the appearances we saw from the Braves bullpen, the one that kind of left me holding my breath was the stint that Smith offered. He was great yesterday.
With a fastball, curveball, and a slider. Fastball mid-90s. Looked sharp yesterday. Only gave up 11 hits all year long. 7 of them home runs.
An all-star last year with the Giants, and as soon as Will Smith hit the market in the winter, the Braves gobbled him up. featured that nasty slider all day yesterday. Man, he's good. 1-2.
Matt, you're right. When the free agent market began, everyone was wondering if their players going to get paid, and the Braves went right after him as the best closer available in the market.
3-year, $40 million deal that includes option language that could keep him in Atlanta through the 2023 season. Look, Buster, you know that when the Braves shop for free agents, when they evaluate amateur talent, they like to select people in their backyard. Guys like Tyler Flowers, Georgia native. Free agent like Will Smith, Georgia native. Ground ball for Albies, and one away for Smith in the 7th.
Matty, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I'll tell you, guys that I've played with, like, Brian McCann, guys like Chipper Jones that I've talked to, they love playing in Atlanta. They love the Southern hospitality. They love everything they do, the way they run that franchise, and they all end up living there. They don't go back home. They end up, so whatever the Braves are doing for the last 35 years has been great. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. And when you look at that team, it reminds me. I heard Trevor Bauer grew up watching the Big Three and learned how to pitch watching Glavine and Smoltz and Maddox. So did I, and so did most kids in America because of WTBS. And what you saw in 92, 93, 94 with that team, it resembles a little bit of what you see now. The Braves are poised to go on a run here for the next 3 or 4 years, and it's been awesome to watch.
Ball and a strike to count to Jesse Winker. Challenge fastball, and Winker can't come up with it. It's a ball and 2 strikes. Now he's got him set up for that big sweeping slider. See if that's what they go to on a ball and 2 strikes. Missed with it. There are a lot of different philosophies out there, Buster, in terms of free agent closer money. Some of the new school thinking is that it's not worth the money to give extended deals to closers because the life of a closer is so fleeting and fragile. The Braves obviously not buying into that over the winter. Look at that slider. That is just nasty. Oh, man.
I mean, you see it right here. It's a tight slider. Unhittable. The depth. Starts up and in. Ends up low and away.
Matt, to your point, I really think that the 2 deals that they made with their 2 young players, Acuna Jr. and Ozzie Albies, really give the Braves a lot of flexibility to make decisions as they move forward. Because let's face it, if Acuna Jr. hadn't signed that contract, he might be in 5 years like a $35 million a year player. He's not going to be that. So they can be aggressive with other parts of the team. Those contracts are going to wind up serving the front office well as they make choices.
That's a great point, Buster. And when you look at last night's game, we have Aaron Judge, one of the game's biggest stars. They have not done that, and you have to think about what does a guy like Judge cost. You name the price, and he's probably going to earn it. So I love what the Braves did, signing up their 2 young players. Fantastic deals for the Braves, but also it gives assurance for young players with a large contract. So win-win for the Braves. Great job there.
2 balls and no strikes to Nick Senzel. The other team that you're talking about in that Indians-Yankees matchup last night, Cleveland, they're in a situation with their all-world shortstop Francisco Lindor where they couldn't get him signed long-term. So it kind of keeps the entire payroll held for ransom. Are we holding back money so we can make a run at him? Do we let him go and spend it elsewhere? And to Buster's point, the Braves don't have those problems. 2-2.
And then you spin that to the Chicago Cubs, and you have Chris Bryant sitting out there and Baez coming up in the next year or two. And these are pivotal decisions that organizations have to make and go all in early or wait and get a better look, but it's going to be a lot more expensive.
2-2. Bases empty, 2 gone. Senzel hangs around.
The fact is, because the Indians were unable to reach an agreement with Lindor, they offered him about $100 million reportedly. Then what that means is they're probably going to have to entertain again trading him this winter. Folks with other teams fully expect, as they've done with CC Sabathia and Trevor Bauer, Mike Clevenger in the past, they will move him before next year's trade deadline.
Hey, Buster.
Sliders good to right-handed hitters, too. Couple of strikeouts. Another impressive relief inning by Will Smith. Still 1-0 Atlanta. Coming up at 3 Eastern, Yasmani Grandal's homered in each of the first 2 games of this series. Game 3 between the A's and White Sox still to come. Nothing Atlanta. 7th inning stretch has come and gone. Let's take a look at our game track, brought to you by Geico. All pitching for a second straight day in this series. The Reds 1 through 4 hitters, the top meaty half of their lineup, a combined 1 for 12 with 7 strikeouts. Rookie right-hander Ian Anderson making his postseason debut. 6 shutout innings with 9 strikeouts. The only run on a 2-out double by Ronald Acuna Jr. back in the bottom of the 5th.
And the guy with the bad hammy, Austin Riley, is the one that scores the run. Fortunate with a 3-2 count. He was in motion, gave him a running start. And the Acuna double, he scores easily.
It'll be that part of the order here in the bottom of the 7th inning for Atlanta. Markakis, Riley, and the top of the order, Acuna, against Lucas Sims, who will continue. Both bullpens are busy for the Reds. Raisel Iglesias is up. And here's Markakis to open the bottom of the 7th.
We have 56 strikeouts in the series, only 2 runs scored. To think the Reds could be swept and only allow 2 runs is unthinkable.
That's a good point. Nice little breaking ball in for a strike. Lucas Sims, as we mentioned yesterday, is also a Georgia native. Brought the breaking ball up a bit, and it's 1-2. And Braves, as a Georgia native, was on the radar in Atlanta's backyard. Drafted as a first-rounder by the Braves. Made his major league debut with Atlanta. And as we talked about, was a part of the compensation package for Adam Duvall in the pre-deadline trade between the 2 teams in 2018. 2-2. Got him looking. Dotted a fastball, then there's 1 gone here in the 7th.
I mean, back-to-back sliders and then 95 black away. I mean, just tip your cap. Nothing you can do about that. Markakis knew it. Like Derwood Merrill, the old-time umpire, would say, A-Rod, that's a Hall of Fame pitch.
He called you A-Rod?
A-Rod. Great guy.
Here's Austin Riley now. Well, on the heels of a day yesterday when this series opened with a 37 strikeout game, a major league record, there have been 20 more today.
today's game tells you that strikeouts don't matter. It's just an out, as long as you hit for enough power. But last night we saw the Yankees look more like the 1998 Yankees than the 2020. They scored 2 runs late in that game. Couple walks, soft contact. Torres, I think, has 5 infield hits, hasn't hit the bottom of the infield with the exception of the home run. But because you make contact and you put pressure on the defense, good things happen. Nothing happens. Nothing good happens with a strikeout.
Lucas Sims is dealing, by the way. He's faced 4 batters and struck out 3 of them.
Sliders early, fastballs late. He's got so much torque, and he's a max effort guy.
So now Ronald Acuna, in the midst of his 3rd career 3-hit postseason game, and that ties him with Andrew Jones for the most 3-hit postseason games by a Brave before turning 23. In fact, that ties him with anyone for the most career 3-hit postseason games before turning 23. Not just in Braves franchise history. Here's the 1-0. A ball and a strike.
Only 22 years old.
Let's take you back to the 5th, and the RBI double that led to the game's only run.
It was a slider that Castillo never wanted to throw. Shook a couple times, still threw it. Acuna made him pay for it.
He has collected exactly half of Atlanta's hits today. Hey, to your point, and according to Sarah Langs, no team has ever been eliminated in a postseason series allowing 3 or fewer runs.
Unbelievable. And we're seeing things that we've never seen before, and that's what makes this so exciting. We had 8 games yesterday. We had 5 games on at the same time, and it was fun. It feels like March Madness in October.
2-2 to Acuna. And Lucas Sims, breathing fire, has struck out the side. That hasn't been the problem for the Cincinnati Reds. Generating offense has. They've got 6 outs left to keep their 2020 season alive. Back, and again, the game's either going to be on tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern on ABC or 7 Eastern on ESPN, depending on what happens in San Diego and LA today. Because those are both elimination scenarios, with the Cardinals claiming game 1 in their series with the Pods. Dodgers doing the same in their game 1 against Milwaukee. Bullpen door has swung open again for the Braves, and a part of their A group is the big right-hander Chris Martin. He'll work in the 8th.
Yeah, 6'8", fastball, wipeout slider, curveball, and a little change. Left last Sunday's game with a tight groin. Something to watch. And especially if he has to go out and cover first base, ground ball to Freeman with a tight groin, he may be slow to get there.
Martin was the first on in relief yesterday of Max Fried. He pitched the 8th, a scoreless inning. Freddie Galvis the first to face him here in the 8th inning today. Galvis, Barnhart, and Akiyama. And we advertised the Braves bullpen as being very good, and they made us look like we were being honest yesterday, because they were terrific. Martin, Melanson, Smith, O'Day, Matzik, Green, Minter, all combined for scoreless baseball. 5 scoreless innings by the bullpen, added to Max Fried's great start. Freddie Freeman's walk-off winner. Fast forward to today, And the Reds have 6 outs left in their 2020 season.
For the Reds, the last 18 outs, only 1 ball hit hard.
I mean, they have been such an unusual team from a statistical profile all year. A higher percentage of their runs via homers than any other team in baseball. See that there. They're the first team in Major League history, Alex, to have more walks than singles.
That's incredible.
Now, had the season been 162, that might not have been the case. Still 2-2 to Galvis.
Talk about home runs being empty calories. Feels good when it goes in, but for some healthy living this time of the year, you got to put the ball in play, make contact, put the game in motion.
All the situational stuff. That's where the Reds have struggled this year. Major League low batting average. Major League low batting average with 2 strikes. There's 1 gone now as Galvis pops out. There are 29 other teams that could say this, but they could use a DJ LeMahieu type.
Oh boy. Oh boy. And LeMahieu is a free agent this year.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but did you guys see what he said the other day? The sort of thing that makes an agent cringe. He said, "No, I want to stay."
Speaking of staying, Buster, just to put an end to the last conversation we had, what do you think the Yankees do with Aaron Judge?
Wow. Boy, that is a great... first off, I think he's going to make it to free agency. And I've been wondering about a Mets-Yankees bidding war. That would be interesting.
Brian Goodwin is pinch hitting here with 1 gone. A midseason acquisition from the Angels. And the Reds had a lot of success when Goodwin was in the lineup. Cincinnati went 16-9 after he joined the club on September 1st. Slow roller to second. Albies has it, and Goodwin is retired. The Reds are 4 outs away from the end of their season. Team that had so much momentum down the stretch. And what's the old baseball adage? Momentum is only as good as the next night's starting pitcher. And they ran into a couple of studs in this series. Here's Shogo Akiyama now.
You know, the problem with an all or nothing approach is you often get the second part of the cliche. For me, give me a Swiss watch. Give me a guy that can be consistent, put the ball in play. A guy like DJ LeMahieu.
Broke his bat. Another ground ball for Albies. 2 perfect innings in the series from right-hander Chris Martin. Going to the bottom of the 8th inning. 1-0 at 0-1 NLDS. 10 straight postseason losses. It's been 19 years since the Braves have won a postseason series. Edging closer toward that this afternoon. They'd love some insurance. Raisel Iglesias pitched in game 1 yesterday and was very impressive. All 4 of the outs he recorded came via the strikeout. We'll get Freddie Freeman, Marcell Ozuna, and Travis d'Arnaud here in the last of the 8th.
The Cuban-born 30-year-old, he's got fastball, slider, and a changeup. Tougher on righties with that slider.
Freddie's been intentionally walked today and lined out twice on hard hit balls to left.
There's that changeup. 2-0, 98 first pitch fastball, 2-0 changeup, 90.
when Cincinnati has its last chance in the top of the ninth. Castellanos, Votto, and Suarez. 3 guys capable of tying the score with one swing. He loses Freeman on the changeup, so a base on balls issued by Iglesias. A couple of defensive changes to set for you here in the 8th. Not only a new pitcher, but a new catcher. Kurt Casale taking over behind the plate for Tucker Barnhart. Brian Goodwin stays in the game, playing left field for Akiyama.
Hey, man, we talked about approach, all or nothing. We keep saying all these cliches, but what does it mean? An approach is a mindset. An approach means use 13 clubs in your bags. Your 3-1 swing can't be like your 0-2 swing. Nobody in base with 2 outs versus a man on third with the infield in. And the great run producers, you choke up, you put the ball in play. If the infield's playing back with a man on third, Susan Waldman would always say, just get the run in like that.
Marcell Ozuna has struck a 2-run homer, 3-0 Atlanta.
And you talk about approach. Ozuna's had it all year long after a few strikeouts. The adjustment. And it's the fastball. The best fastball hitter in Major League Baseball this year. Almost 500 on that pitch. And gets one middle, 95 miles an hour. And he got all of it. He's been doing it all year long for the Braves. And the excitement. Taking a selfie. That I've never seen. We're making history everywhere. I love it.
Well, the National League's home run and RBI leader had been quiet in the series. He was 0 for 8 with 5 strikeouts. But one big swing of the bat has made Cincinnati's job even more difficult to try to come back in the 9th. Well, he is just an indispensable bat. And another guy that's going to be on the market at the end of the month. What did the Braves faithful think of it outside the ballpark? Garno strikes out and there's one gone.
Matt, it's worth reviewing the path, too, that Ozuna got to the Braves. Remember, they were bidding to keep Josh Donaldson in Atlanta when he became a free agent last fall. Ozuna was out on the market, and what Alex Anthopoulos, the general manager of the Braves, told his representation was, Ozuna's representation, look, just wait until we get a resolution on the Donaldson situation. Donaldson winds up signing with the Minnesota Twins. Then the Braves pivot to Marcell Ozuna on a 1-year, $18 million deal, and boy, today it's paying off.
You bet, man. That is one of the best 1-year deals that the league has seen in quite a long time. A lot of money, but it's been worth its weight.
It's the best deal in baseball and the worst deal in baseball. The best deal because you brought him in for $18 million. The worst deal because it's only 1 year and not 3. How do you replace a guy like that? And it's what manager Snicker told us yesterday. Is not just what he does on the field, but in the clubhouse, the energy, the enthusiasm. Players with, Ozzie and Acuna. Ozuna is a total package, and everywhere he plays, he's revered in those clubhouses.
Oh, my. And Suarez has a ball just kick off the heel of his glove. I don't know if the sun played a role there or not. He's got his sunglasses on.
And this should be a left fielder's play. Anytime a left fielder's close, that's just lack of leadership. Just get any infielder out of the way. Infielders get paid to catch ground balls. Outfielders get paid to catch fly balls.
That should be scored as an error because it keeps the plate appearance alive for Albies. And it is charged as an error to Eugenio Suarez. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Again, the meat of the Reds order when they bat in the top of the 9th inning, but it is now a 3-run obstacle they're trying to overcome after the 2-run homer by Ozuna. Wow.
Iglesias only gave up 1 home run all year long, and for a right-hander to hit a home run, that's quite the feat, and a long one.
I think Albies was fooled by that fastball. He gets another pitch and draws ball 4. Next game up in the fall frenzy, coming at you at 3 Eastern, a decisive game 3 between the A's and the White Sox. Mike Fiers was passed over for wild card starts each of the past 2 years. He's finally going to get a chance to take the ball in a postseason elimination game at home. It's coming to you on ESPN at 3 o'clock Eastern.
And I'll be watching that one. That should be fun.
Be watching too with one eye kind of half closed. This guy has watched a lot of Oakland A's postseason losses of late.
Now this is true. I mean, as a fan, when my team lost, I would be sad and get in a bad mood. Were you the kind of fan when you grew up with the A's that you got mad, or were you would throw things? What kind of fan were you?
Was or is?
Your choice.
Yeah, I get a little surly with my fandom. Look, the last time the Oakland A's won a postseason elimination game, it was Game 7 of the 1973 World Series.
But who's counting, right?
Get your head around that a little bit. Adam Duvall batting with a man on. 1 gone. Bottom of the 8th. 3-0 Atlanta. You know, as frustrating as this has been for the Reds in a big kind of global sense, the fact that the Braves have never lost to the Reds in a postseason meeting, let alone series, just kind of deepens the cut, I think. You know, if you're over the Rhine back in Cincinnati and you're watching this thing today, thinking back to 1995 and the sweep there.
I mean, but the frustrating thing for the Cincinnati Reds, they've done such a nice job building this team for now and the future. And with this young pitching, I mean, they're very close. For me, the big adjustment has to be approach, and not the all or nothing approach.
That's into the corner, and that one's gone. Adam Duvall sends a 2-run shot to left, and it's 5-0 Atlanta.
And the wheels are coming off now on an 0-2 pitch. A Gary Sheffield type home run. More selfies. Here's a little slider. Did not do much. 0-2 right in the wheelhouse. A line drive that just kept on going.
Reds will make a pitching change with 4 runs in and only 1 away in what's turned into a nightmarish last of the 8th for Cincinnati. 5-0 Braves. We'll be right back. 2-run home runs, a suddenly noisy Atlanta lineup, have given the Braves a 5-0 8th inning lead. And a second pitching change of the inning brings Michael Lorenzen on with 1 gone in the 8th. Lorenzen pitched yesterday. Could say that about just about every reliever because it was such a busy line score into the 13th. And there's a line shot out to right that's going to drop in. Swanson's aboard on his first hit of the series. All right, let's go back to the home run hit by Ozuna and the subsequent selfie that he took just a few steps out of the box. And then Adam Duvall in the dugout's one thing, but on the field as you're going up the line, that's going to have there can be some discussion about that.
Oh yeah, I mean you can hear them already. The traditionalists, they're going to say, you know, it's a little bit too much. The one in the dugout is kosher. That one's not. I love it. I like these kids to have fun. It's a tough game. Man, it is hard to score runs. And these pitchers have been dominating these guys. You know, Ozuna struck out 2 or 3 times. He went back. Is it a little much? Maybe, but have some fun.
Buster, is there going to be reaction to that, or is there enough going on elsewhere to where that gets lost in the fine print?
Yeah, it's going to. I think the conversation might wind up reminding us of the conversation. Remember when Alex Bregman took the bat all the way to first base last year, where it's an unwritten rule? Did he go too far with it? I'm with Alex. I feel like, especially when it's not directed at the other player, and you hit a big home run in a playoff game, have fun with it. We saw Trevor Bauer yesterday, who's someone who's advocating having fun. He's strutting off the mound. You know, in a spot like that, just have fun.
0-2 to Nick Markakis.
You know, Buster, a few years ago, Jose Bautista got so much grief for the bat flip in a playoff game, and it was a huge bat flip. I mean, the fans went crazy in Toronto. And, I mean, what is Ozuna going to get for a selfie?
Prince Fielder had the whole, the bowling pin, the bowling ball routine in Milwaukee.
That's right.
And there was a little pushback on that, but look, as Markakis strikes out, it's all in the spirit of fun. And again, if it's not directed at as an opponent.
And that's the point, Matt. I mean, Ozuna is one of the most likable personalities in the game. He's got a lot of big poppy in him. Everyone loves him. He's got the big chain. He's got the big smile. He's hugging everyone. Everyone poppy, poppy, poppy. I love this young man. You know, as long as you're not trying to show up the opponent, and you saw Bauer walking off the mound yesterday. He wasn't showing anybody up. And that's a big difference. People pay attention. The ball hit him.
Yeah, Austin Riley's hit by a pitch.
Yeah, so I don't think this is going to be one that'll have consequences for next year. It's not like he was making eye contact and sitting there and showing anybody up. I think that the game needs more excitement, more electricity. I like it.
And Iglesias wasn't staring him down after he did it. You know, it's
right.
That said, you never know. One pitcher gets something in the back of his head. You guys remember what happened with Hunter Strickland and Bryce Harper?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, Max Muncy and Madison Bumgarner.
Right.
Some pitchers have long memories.
4 runs in with 2 out here in the 8th. 2 on, 2 out, 5-0 Atlanta.
Matty, what's your take on it?
You know, I'm fine with most things, so that it doesn't really bother me. If he had charged out to the mound and, done something specifically to Iglesias, then we're talking about something else. I'm just a play-by-play guy, Alex. The Reds are down to their final 3 outs, and the job has gotten considerably taller. Down 5-0 as we go to the 9th. 1 apiece. That's on ESPN at 3 Eastern, 7 Eastern. Game 2 as the Cardinals try to close out San Diego at Petco Park. And then later on tonight, Game 2 of the Brewers-Dodgers series in L.A. The Dodgers with a 1-0 series lead there. And as this one might and in fact already has past 3 o'clock Eastern time. The A's and White Sox are starting on ESPN2. Mark Melanson will try to finish things in Atlanta this afternoon. Cincinnati has Castellanos, Votto, and Suarez as their last line of resistance here today. Castellanos quiet today after a 3-hit opener yesterday. So big picture, if the Braves hang on once again, this snaps their 10-series streak of postseason losses, which, by the way, was tied for the longest in postseason history. Ball and 2 strikes. We're talking about series here. We know that the Minnesota Twins have a consecutive postseason game loss record after being swept once again this year by the Houston Astros. And again, to the point we made earlier about the Braves being Cincinnati's postseason nemesis, Cincinnati's been held scoreless by the Braves for 30 consecutive innings dating back to the '95 NLCS.
Streak. Talking about Cincinnati and the Braves, Buster, front door cutter there. Castellanos doesn't like it. There's the front door cutter that has made Mariano Rivera the greatest closer of all time. And Castellanos has a point. Buster's my understanding that the Reds offered Ozuna $50 million for 3 years, and he took the Braves 1 for 18. Is that accurate?
Wow. I don't remember that specifically, but it makes sense given how the Reds are trying to upgrade their offense and where some of the numbers wound up with Castellanos during the course of the offseason. Mike Moustakas.
Here's Votto now, hitless 0 for 3 today. The strikeout of Castellanos, the 12th for Braves pitching in this game. That includes the total of 9 by the rookie starter Ian Anderson, who was terrific today. 1-1 to Votto.
You know, Votto said coming into this series, if they make the postseason, it's going to be a nightmare. But it's been an offensive nightmare for the Cincinnati Reds.
Ball and 2 strikes to Joey Votto. You know, it's worth mentioning at this juncture too, because the starting pitching has really set the pace for the Braves in this series. Their starters ERA was 5.51 in the regular season.
Hard to believe.
Back to Melanson, and the Reds are down to their final out. Let's check in with Kevin Connors.
And Matt, we want to let you know the White Sox A's winner-take-all Game 3 is just about to begin right now on ESPN2. Dane Dunning, Mike Fiers, the pitching matchup. Houston awaits the winner. You'll see it full here next on ESPN. For now, the start over on ESPN2. Matt?
All right, Kevin, thanks. 1 out remaining in the Cincinnati Reds 2020 season. And it'll be up to Eugenio Suarez. Two strikes away from back-to-back shutout wins. And again, this was a starter's ERA of 5.51 that made it the highest by any team to qualify for a postseason in Major League history. Fried and Anderson brilliant at home this week. I would imagine as the Braves move on in the postseason and out away from the division series, that gathering outside the ballpark that we've been photographing all day will grow. Suarez lines to left, and that'll do it. The Atlanta Braves have won their first postseason series in 19 years. They're headed to the NLDS. Atlanta riding the backs of two outstanding young starters, one of the best bullpens in the league, and a terrific core of hitters who came alive in the bottom of the 8th inning today to post a 5-0 shutout win.
Unbelievable pitching on both sides. Cincinnati pitched really well, could not hit. The Braves pitched well and hit big time today, the big bats and the home runs.
So the Braves will be able to relax for a couple of days and wait for an opponent and wait for the rest of the National League brackets to fill in. Their next stop is Arlington, Texas. Oh, their next stop, rather, is Los Angeles. No, sorry, Houston, Texas. I'll get it. They're going to Houston to face the winner of the Marlins-Cubs series. That one was canceled today due to rain. It'll resume on Friday. Brewers and Dodgers, Cardinals and Padres, those series tonight on ESPN. Coming up next on ESPN, it's already in progress. The decisive Game 3 in Oakland between the A's and the White Sox. On behalf of Buster Olney, Alex Rodriguez, and our entire ESPN crew, Matt Vasgersian saying